Hey, it's rock and roll time. Rock Stories with the Brummster. Right here at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Like, subscribe. We got a brand new episode for you today. So new episodes coming out. You want to know when the brand new Rock Stories with the Brummster comes out. Check it out. Like, subscribe. Hit the reminder bell at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Also as well. Available on demand at rockradio559.com. So I'm excited today. We're getting the rock and roll train rolling again. That's right. I've taken a little bit of a break this past year. Rock Stories with the Brummster. Amazing past episodes. Our concept is real rock stories from the fans' perspective. You know, I was in radio for over 20 years, and in doing so, I had a lot of behind-the-scenes experiences and a lot of friends with really cool experiences. And you can catch all of those stories from those friends of the Brummster and, of course, as well, from the fans' perspective. The greatest rock and roll memories right here. Greatest concert memories, band memories, personal experiences, all right here from the fans' perspective. Rock Stories with the Brummster Podcast. Welcome back. Today we've got Kent Quaschnick on the program, a friend of mine, a friend of the Brummster and FOB. I'm excited to have you on, Kent. I stole that, by the way, FOB. I read Bill Clinton's, former president, Bill Clinton's memoir. And in it, his friends call him their FOBs, Friends of Bill. And so I stole that, Friends of the Brummster. But welcome, Kent Quaschnick, to the Rock Stories with the Brummster podcast. Real rock stories from the fans' perspective. I know you have some amazing stories. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here.
Dude, I'm telling you, folks, I'm talking to Kent. And we're chatting up, and you do a rock podcast. Very cool. Yeah. I used to drive around and, take Kiss on errands. Excuse me. Yeah. I drove them around and took care of them and was their handler. What? Wow. You have quite a past and a lot of different rock stories, different bands. But wow, that's an explosive thing. Like amazing. What a great memory to be able to hold on to, man.
Yeah. I can say I've done some things that nobody on the planet has got to do. As a civilian, I guess, or as a fan.
A civilian, right? Yeah. No, you're in the rock and roll Kiss army, dude. The personal Kiss army. Let's start there. Kiss. So, or how did you even get into, having access to these bands and whatnot? You do other things in your career, and I mean, how did all that get started? Pretty cool. Tell us.
Yeah. So it's kind of just so random, and it's almost like two things that don't go together, but it blossomed into something quite huge. So I worked for a finance company, and the owner, his hobby and his kind of his stick was always just, music. And he used to be way back in the day, he used to be kind of a concert promoter back when all the hair bands were popular. And when he started the finance company, it kind of blew up. Had 80 to 90 stores nationwide, and I was his IT guy. I ran his software systems, and I always heard stories of, he's hanging out with Kiss, and he's on a private jet, doing something else with another band, and pretty soon he had the idea of mixing in his business with promoting concerts. So he kind of, it was always, I'm housing having a concert here in this city, and bringing in Kiss or bringing in, Motley Crue or any of those bands. And, we need you to help out, Kent, do, on the resume, it's the other duties as assigned, kind of thing. So I was always, either either sit in VIP booths or backstage, doing something with the band, getting guitar signed, poster signed. That ended up morphing into, years later, he opened up Rock and Roll Academy, kind of like what Alice Cooper has in Las Vegas.
Nice.
Where if you were a member of the Boys and Girls Club, you could join and learn to play an instrument for free. And it was kind of an after-school program kind of thing. And it was this amazing state-of-the-art facility. Like, it had a stage, it had like recording rooms, soundproof rooms, the whole lighting set up. Just super, super cool. And, but that was in small town South Dakota, population of, 200,000 people. So to promote it, he would bring in, he would fly Kiss up there or Vince Neil from Motley Crue and, do like a private meet and greet with, the parents and the kids in like an intimate setting kind of thing. And then eventually, then he went really crazy. He opened up a pawn shop in the same town, and it was the world's largest pawn shop at the time. But he didn't want to just make it a pawn shop, so he had kind of several things to do while you visit this pawn shop. So it was almost like it was about the size of almost bigger than a gym auditorium. And so he had like a restaurant in there, a live radio station where you could, watch the DJ perform. And then he had like a foundry where you could watch people melt gold and silver, a tattoo parlor, even a gun range where, you could, shoot targets. But the center of it all was a full stage production that was on the floor, and it was always there. And I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night, all of the pawn shop, everything from like the jewelry counter to the guitars, all the memorabilia where the shirts and hats were hanging, everything was on wheels. So he had a crew that would come in and move everything behind, kind of the walls, garage doors would shut down, and then he would throw a concert every Wednesday and Thursday night. So, of course, he would bring in, some of the big names like Kiss and, Ratt and The Offspring, and they would party all night, and then come 8 o'clock in the morning, everything would look like a pawn shop at the end of the day.
Oh my God, man! Like totally undercover, right?
Yep. And then while we were building this thing, he calls us all in, all the corporate people, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, in the nearby town of Brandon, South Dakota, I bought the dirt racetrack. It was kind of fallen in disrepair, so we got to figure out how to open a racetrack by springtime." So then of course we remodeled the stands, and then so that was kind of another location. Once we started racing, that was another location where we could have outdoor concerts. And then of course he would fly up the bands and have outdoor concerts there. And I was just always in the middle of, hey, we need you to do this. We need you to, we're doing meet and greets up there. We're having a concert. We're doing all these things. So that's where I was kind of always just rubbing elbows with random rock stars, whoever was performing at the time. So that's kind of the stage set of how I got mixed up in all this, if that makes sense.
Kent Quaschnick from IT to rock and roll superstar. I mean, basically, you got to enjoy vicariously a lifestyle that most of us would just dream to have had. How cool is that? I mean, definitely sounds like the owner was, a shiny thing over here. I mean, that kind of but
yep.
But he also sounds like someone who made shit happen too.
He went for it. Everything he did.
Mm-hmm. He was either 100% in or 100% out, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What a cool dude, man. I mean, so I'm curious, did the rock and roll thing happen just because he loved it personally as the primary, or did it happen because some of these bands and artists were clients of his, financially speaking?
I think probably a little mix of both.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, yeah. You made us an extra 7% this last quarter. What is this? Anything we can do for you? Yeah. Would you mind coming and playing at my venue? Come on down.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was, it was no big deal to be at the office, and I'm making copies, and I look over, and Dee Snyder's walking by, or Gene Simmons, heading into the owner's office to discuss whatever they're doing. Just very two things that don't go together.
In some offices, in the after hours, they're putting their butt up on the copy machine. But in this office, in the after hours, we're having a jam session. Dude, like an all-star lineup, just walking down the hallway, passing by the coffee. Oh, hey, Dee, what's happening? How you doing?
Yep, it was exactly like that.
Almost surreal. So take us into that further. By the way, folks, thanks for rocking with us. Rock Stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fans' perspective, just like this. And if you've got a real rock story you'd like to share on our podcast, just reach out to us. The Brummster Facebook page, that's with two M's, BRUMMSTER. It's Rock Stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fan's perspective. Super fan Kent Quaschnick here with us today. Some amazing insights into a unique, surreal, I said earlier, and it's so applicable, appropriate. What a surreal experience. Take us further into it, Kent. Some of these experiences, I'm walking, in the hallway, Dee Snyder. What a trip, man. I mean, is he as tall as, he's a tall dude, right? I'm 6'6"-ish. He's a tall guy, right?
Big. Yeah, he's big. He's got some presence, and he doesn't ever really seem to not dress his character. So he's walking around in leather and cut off and chains and, through the office. So he's always looking like he's ready to go on stage.
Like the 80s bomb that never got rid of the giant Aquanet bangs, right?
Exactly.
Never surrender. 80s all the way, baby, forever. Like right now, watch, he still dresses that way. You go down to the store, he's totally the same, right? Like Elvis will always be in the jumpsuit for us, right?
Absolutely.
So take us further into this surreal life, this experience, some individual memories that you have that kind of tickled that rock bone inside.
Yeah. So we were, at the time we opened up the Rock and Roll Academy, we did a kind of a major kind of a fundraising event here in Las Vegas. And it was basically just to raise money, buy instruments, complete the building. And we had a kind of a private concert. It was at the Orleans Arena, and it was all four members of KISS. Alice Cooper was there, Rob Zombie, Dee was there, Stephen Pearcy from Ratt, Vince Neil, and I want to say Jack Blades from was it Night Ranger. So they were all kind of doing a performance thing. Right. And my role there was kind of manage the crowd that you could buy individual tables, or you could buy just general admission, and each had their varying prices. So the high dollar tables, they got to come back and meet the band and maybe get something signed, kind of thing. So we had to kind of funnel them in, and make sure they're just stop at each rock star, don't spend too much time, don't go fanboy or girl crazy on them, kind of keep the line moving, right? And Vince Neil was horrendously late coming to this. And, he comes up he was blasted. I don't know if he was drunk or what, but he was out there, when he arrived.
Have you seen him lately? Have you seen poor Vince? He looks like a dead animal on the side of the road, all bloated out. Like he looks that coke bloat. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he partied for reals.
He's still kicking. Yep. He's still kicking. But so he shows up. He's kind of tuned up pretty good. And one of the each of the band members, had, I don't know what you call it, like a green room or where they got dressed before and, had their food and kind of their private little locker room kind of before they went on stage. And one of the marketing people, we gave like a little swag bag of, whatever they wanted into their room with water and, had some T-shirts and, that type of thing. And he overhears marketing, this marketing lady, have an announcement saying, "Yeah, your rooms are all set up. We got nice bags in there." And then Vince turns to me and he's like, "Hey, I never got a bag. What the hell?" And he just goes off on me that he didn't get a swag bag, right? So I'm like, "Oh boy, how did we drop the ball on this? How did we mess up Vince Neil's room, So of course there's thousands of people there and all of us are running around doing our thing, trying to make things go right. And I'm trying to find the head of marketing that was in charge of all this, right? So I'm going back and forth. I told Vince, I was like, "Okay, stay calm. I'm sure there's we'll get you your bag. No big deal, And of course he's like, "Yeah, you will." So I'm running through trying to find the marketing lady, and finally when I get to her, and I was like, "Hey, Vince is saying he didn't, get his bag," and she's like, "What are you talking about? I did it myself. Everybody has their bags. They're all set up. I don't know what he's talking about." So I'm like, "All right, now I got to go find Vince and tell him." So I go back down through the crowd, find Vince. I was like, "Hey, Vince, I think there's maybe just some confusion, everything's set up in your room. You got your bag. Maybe you just didn't see it." And he turns to me and he's like, "What are you talking about? What bag?" I'm like, "Well, dang it, Vince. You just chewed me out because you didn't get a bag, and now you don't know what I'm talking about."
What bag? Bag? What do you mean bag?
Yeah, it's sort of like, "Who are you? What are you talking about? What bag?" I was like, never mind.
Like high as hell, right? He's like, "Wait a minute, I don't even remember talking to you before. Hi, I'm Vince Neil. Nice to meet you."
Yeah, I was like, I was the guy you just chewed my ass, and all right, we're good then.
Oh man, that dude, he partied so hard that he chewed your ass, and then 5 seconds later you come back to like, "Hey, we got the bag What bag? Who are you? What? Excuse me?" They call that 10-second Tom, right? Oh my God, that's funny. Yep. Oh, so what a cool story. Rock stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fans' perspective. My friend of the Brummster, Kent Quaschnick, here with us today. And what an insight that we get into such a cool pleasure to have you on the show. A chance to get insight into behind the scenes, pull the curtain back, these real rock stories, one-on-one, personal, intimate details here at Rock Stories with the Brummster. Thank you so much for being on today, Kent. Continue. These individual insights are so cool. Vince Neil, who's next?
Well, we got Vince and Stephen Pearcy from Ratt.
Round and round.
Yep. So we were doing an outdoor concert at the racetrack, and the owner approached me and he's like, "Hey, I'm flying Vince and his girlfriend and Steven up in the private jet," and he's like, "There's 2 seats open. You wanna just hop along? It'll just be go up there, enjoy the concert, and fly back." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So myself and another another good friend of mine, marketing, the 5 of us flew up there in a private jet. And on the way up there, I want to say they were opening for Judas Priest and Rob Halford, so he was there already. And so we're flying up there, and all of a sudden, there like a huge hail thunderstorm, moves into the area, and we could barely land the plane. And as soon as we landed the plane, they shut the airport down. Called off the concert because it was terrible out, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of freaking out because I was like, shoot, I did not pack anything because I thought we were coming home, right? Like I didn't have contact solution. I didn't even have a change of clothes, no underwear.
Yeah, you were just going there to rock, and you were going there to rock and come right back, right?
Exactly. So we're sitting on the tarmac. And trying to figure out, like, well, we need to get a hotel, that type of thing. We need to figure out where to put, Steven and Vince and, make sure they're okay. And I leaned over to my buddy and I was like, shoot, like I'm going to have to go to like Walmart or Walgreens or something and, get all this stuff to prepare for the night because I got nothing. And Stephen Pearcy, he's like, oh, hey, he's like, I got you covered, man. Hold on. And he goes into his duffel bag and he throws me this T-shirt, right? And I'm like, oh, cool, okay, this is cool. Not only do I have a change of clothes, I got something from Stephen Pearcy. So I'm like, oh, rad, thanks, man. And by the time I caught the T-shirt, like the smell of that shirt, I mean, it was the most repugnant, disgusting thing I've ever felt. I don't think that shirt has ever left his bag from the day he started touring. I mean, it was covered in hair and smoke. I mean, lint everywhere.
Let me give you my lucky shirt. Let me give you my lucky. This is my lucky shirt. Cool. Every concert, I put it on after on my sweaty body. Every single concert. It's my lucky shirt. But I'm gonna give it to you because I'm Stephen Pearcy. Shirt off my back. Oh,
yeah, so he was doing paper, and it was still cool. I still have the shirt today because it's actually
you didn't wash it, right? You didn't wash it, right?
Several times. Yeah, several times. But yeah, it's like Stephen Pearcy. I think he owns a tattoo shop in Hollywood, and it was a shirt of his tattoo shop. So it's kind of cool. I got a souvenir at the end of the day. But then the next day when we came on the flight, of course I wasn't wearing a shirt. So on the way back, he's like, hey, man, notice you're not wearing my shirt. You're in the same clothes you wore yesterday.
Did you have to be honest with them about it?
Yeah. No, well, I kind of. I kind of told him, I was like, I was like, I'll just sit in my own filth for now. I don't want to wear that shirt. I just want to cherish it. I want to keep it as a souvenir.
There you go. Nice save, yeah. Dude.
Yep. I'd play it cool, and he was fine with that.
As a cucumber.
Yeah. Super cool person. I mean, I was trying to sleep on the way back, and he kept telling me stories, and I told him I was a car guy, which was a mistake because he's also a car guy, and then it just, I was like, oh, I'm just trying to nap, Steven. He just kept going, like very personable, very down-to-earth kind of guy.
You ever do
Super
that?
Nice guy.
Where you get on a plane, right, and the person next to you is, either wants to be like that or just wants to not talk at all. And I'm cool with either, honestly. But I'll tell you, when you want to be the person that's not talking, you don't want Stephen Pearcy to sit next to you or Josh Brum to sit next to you. I'm serious. Like, yeah. God love him, but you were all right, dude. Come on. Come on.
Yep. Yeah, wasn't reading the room is what he was doing.
Oh, my God. That's so funny, man. That's so funny. He's got all the stories. Stephen Pearcy. Hey, speaking of, Ratt, really big in these Geico commercials. Round and round. We have a rat problem in the basement. And then all of a sudden they're down there frickin' rocking, right? Oh, how awesome. So it's coming back. He's still out there. He's still touring, I think, here in 2024. I think he's still out there. I think as himself. I don't know if it's with Ratt. Were you just friends with him or knew him, or was it also like the whole band was there as well? Or was it just him at the time, I think, right?
It was just him at the time. I want to say he was playing with a fairly famous cover band called Hairball at the time. So they always kind of were the background band with the lead singer that we would bring in from another band. So Vince would perform with like Hairball, Steve and Pearcy would perform with Hairball, and they knew all their songs. So that, probably sounded better, to be honest.
Right. Because I mean, so Rock Stories with the Brummster, Kent Quaschnick with us, just really going into some great insight on real rock stories from this fan's perspective. Thank you, Kent. So, shifting gears back real quick, if you don't mind, to Kiss. You mentioned this just kind of briefly in your opener, how you had some very intimate moments with Kiss. We'd love to hear as many of those as stories as you'd love to share with us. But one of the questions I have, you mentioned that it was all four original band members. And that's when I saw them in the late 90s when I was afternoon drive DJ in Fresno at KJFX 95.7 The Fox. And at that time when I saw them, it too was all four band members. But obviously you're up close and personal. I've watched a lot of behind the musics and things like that since then, kind of showing that it was sort of embarrassing that the older band members weren't necessarily up to speed and as good as they once were. I mean, that's what I've heard. Am I crazy? I mean, you witnessed it firsthand, got to know them. I mean, probably amazing. But musically speaking, were their chops still there? I mean, that way we don't have the filter of these stupid shows. I mean, you were there. What do you think?
Yeah, Kiss has always been the band that I always say that sound as closest to their, album in concert as anybody that I've ever seen. It's always so heartbreaking to go see your favorite bands that you have all their albums and then you finally see them in concert and they just don't sound right. A lot of distortion, the vocals aren't there. It's kind of a letdown.
Right.
Where Kiss ranks up there as they sound almost perfect, like every single concert.
It's their brand and their consistency, knowing that this is our brand and we have to put it out, and it's the same Big Mac in Fort Lauderdale as it is in Fresno, California, right? We've got to make that product consistent. I mean, they're businessmen first and foremost, and I have to tell you, when I saw them in the late 90s, I saw no, disparity from what I heard on the album, just like you said. And I saw those original members come back into the fold and, Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, and just do a great job. I didn't see them being a step behind whatsoever. I thought it was amazing. I saw them 2 times. I interviewed Gene once on the radio. But you got to be there in person. Kent Quaschnick with us, pulling back the curtain, real rock stories from the fans' perspective. Thank you for sharing with us, Kent. How was it to be with them personally? Any cool memories from that?
Gene was always kind of there, but he always really kept to himself. He was very friendly if you went up with him and had a conversation with him, but he always kind of was kind of a fly on the wall. Singer was kind of hit or miss. I've met him tons of times, and he always, he either remembered me or it was meeting him for the first time. But I will say, Tommy and Paul, they were probably like my top 2 that were the most friendliest, down to earth.
Really?
Yep. Tommy actually always, when we had these events, he always remembered my first name, and it might have been, 6 months to 8 months since the last time I rubbed elbows with him. But he was the type of guy. He was like, "Oh, hey Kent, how's how's everything going? And actually remembered my name from the last event that we did with them. And I always thought that was pretty cool.
Right, juxtaposed to Vince Neil not remembering you 5 seconds later. I mean, it's just how people treat people, or and no offense, Vince may be great now and all of that. This isn't anti-Vince. I love Vince. I know everyone goes through their shit. But definitely, big difference, right? When someone remembers your name, what's the saying? We don't remember, people. We remember how they made us feel, right? And so Tommy always made you feel good, right? Every time he saw you, even 6 months later.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the times I was probably 27, 28, and this was probably the second, maybe the third time that I ever met him, or hung out with them. And it's just the typical, kind of small talk, Tommy, he's like, hey, Kent, how's it going? What's new with your life? And at the time I was really excited because I just bought my first house, right? In small town, South Dakota, nothing fancy at all, but, I'm doing the renovations, really proud of this thing, so that's what I told him when he asked. He's like, hey, what's new? I was like, oh man, I just been keeping busy. I just bought my first house and, fixing it up. I just put a new roof on it. And he says to me, he's like, oh, cool, man. Me too. I just bought another house, another villa in Italy, And, I'm thinking to myself, like, boy, me and you live different lives.
I know, but to him, that was a way to connect with you. Like, oh, I'm doing the same thing. I mean, exactly. You're all, oh my God, I'm going to go hike up this trail on the Sequoia National Forest this weekend. Oh man. Oh, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to go walk on the moon. Like right. Oh, how funny! How funny! In any time that you see any of these folks, different bands in your experiences, have conflict, or has it mostly all been pretty friendly?
It has been pretty friendly. There was a kind of a letdown with when I met Weezer. And it wasn't necessarily the band. It was kind of their handlers and their security. We sponsored a kind of a 2-day concert where one of the headliners, the first night was Blink-182, and then the next night it was Weezer. And we got to do, meet and greets with both of the bands. And the two differences was when we met, Blink-182, Travis Barker grabbed me and gave me a giant man hug, and I've never met the guy. So
I love him. My wife has got me hooked on the Kardashians, and so I always see Courtney's married to Travis, and so I always see him in that. And anyway, he really is like a teddy bear kind of guy, huh? Even though he's little, but he really is he gave you a big old giant hug. How cool! A Barker hug.
Yeah, it was just kind of random, because you walk up with them, you get your picture taken, you shake your hand, very, very cordial. But for whatever reason, he's like, "Hey, man," just gave me a great old man hug. And the difference between that and Weezer, before we met Weezer, we got pulled into this separate room by their security, and then their security was like, okay, don't touch anybody, don't ask them to sign anybody, no shaking hands, basically just take your picture, don't even look at them, walk off the stage,
You scum.
It's like,
you're less than scum. Don't you dare even look them in the eyes.
Yeah, so we went from one night doing that to Barker grabbing me and, giving me a man hug. So two big differences.
Travis Kardashian Barker. Kent Quaschnick with us. I love it. Blink-182 and Weezer. By the way, I'm so impressed that this is spanning new rock and classic rock in a sense. Really melding the two together, because here in 2024, you tune into a classic rock station, you're going to hear both. You're going to hear that, you're going to hear some Nirvana, and you're going to hear some Guns N' Roses, and you're going to hear some Neil Young. Like, it's just going to, like, right? And that's kind of the mix you're talking about, almost in a sense, right?
Yeah. I even got one with Rick Springfield. I don't know if you consider him rock or pop at this point.
Do it. Yes. Ladies, come on up. Bras and panties on the front of the stage. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Springfield.
Yeah. So we were doing, our company got asked to kind of bring in some talent for a festival called Rib Fest up in South Dakota, and it was like a 3-day event where some of the best barbecuers come and you sample their ribs, and there was a concert at night.
Ribs! I want to go. Were they good ribs?
It was a great little festival, and so we brought in all the rock bands, and we brought in like Rick Springfield, Dee. Tom Kiefer from Cinderella, and Leonard Skinner, and I think Loverboy too was up there.
Turn me loose.
Yep. So it was really cool because we all stayed with them in the same hotel, and we were kind of on the top floor, where nobody else could get to. So we had kind of this lounge area where there was food 100% of the time. We could go in, snack, and over the 3-day event, the bands, they were just all kind of hanging in the lounge there all day waiting to go on stage. And we used those to kind of promote the Rock and Roll Academy at the time. So my job was either to bring them to the meet and greets at the Rock and Roll Academy or bring them to the concert and then bring them back to the hotel. So I was in charge of Rick Springfield and Tom Kiefer. And I was bringing Rick to the meet and greet for the Rock and Roll Academy, and of course we were late. And it was myself, Rick, and his manager at the time, and I was driving him, and we're on the way, and Rick says to me, he's like, "Hey, would that be all right? I'm in need of some batteries. Can we stop and get me some batteries?" And I'm thinking, yeah, sure. That's my job, is to get you what you need. So I brought him to Radio Shack, and him and his manager went in there, and they were in there for like 20 minutes, and I'm just sitting in there, watching people kind of come and go, and I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, I wonder how many people are in there and have no idea they're shopping at Radio Shack with Rick Springfield right now.
Did he look like he was ready to go on stage and everyone would recognize him as Rick's? Like, he wasn't like incognito with a hat and glasses and all hiding out. Hi, my name is Dick Dingfield or whatever. Like, he wasn't like undercover style going in and shopping it. He was full on Rick Springfield, right? And no one even knew who he was.
I don't think he was in concert attire. He was just in your basic blue jeans and a shirt kind of thing.
But these are Radio Shack days, right? So wow. So back then he's definitely still pretty popular. Back in the Radio Shack days, people are still going to his concerts. I mean, big time. People love Rick Springfield. Like, wow. And we're 20 minutes for some batteries. I mean, what else was he doing in there, right? You're like, what the hell, dude? We got a concert. But then at the same time, you're like, but Rick said, right? What happened? How late were you guys? I'm sorry. Tell the story. Go ahead. I'm sorry. But how late were you?
The bad part, yeah. So we were probably 10 minutes late from just going to the meet and greet, and then we stopped off at Battery, so now we're like 30 minutes late. And then I get a call from the owner, and he's kind of chewing my ass. He's like, "Where are you and Rick? He's supposed to be here. We got the parents waiting, the kids are waiting. Like, we're all sitting here like, where is he? He's supposed to be here." And I had to tell him, like, well, Rick needed batteries. Who am I to say, Rick Springfield, you can't have your batteries today, So we're at Radio Shack, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing at Radio Shack?"
And this is back before the cell phone, right? Did you have a cell phone, or were you calling him like on a payphone somewhere or something like that?
But I did have the cell phone at the time.
The flipper, the old,
yep.
Right, where you pull up the antenna on it, right there.
It might have been a BlackBerry with the rollerball.
Nice. How cool, man. Rick Springfield, got to get some batteries at the Radio Shack. Kent Quaschnick said, absolutely, Rick. We'll make everybody go. Now the cool thing is you guys did show up. This whole Rock and Roll Academy thing, how cool. What a concept. Here in 2024, is it still going? Is it still ongoing? Tell us.
Nope. Unfortunately, it's not.
Bummer.
Yeah, kind of closing doors, but
what a cool concept though, and so many people did benefit from it, right? So many kids got their instrument, got to play, got to learn. It's that School of Rock concept, right? Kind of.
Exactly that. And he was our owner was always flying up, different names to meet the kids, and it was always a very intimate setting because if you weren't, like a member of the academy, you didn't know. So, I mean, if you think about it, how cool would it be to be you and maybe 25 other kids sitting there with the 4 members of KISS, and they're telling you how they got started, in just a very, intimate room, intimate setting. Mm-hmm. We even brought in Corey Taylor Slipknot. He was super cool with the kids, and
yeah, we didn't have parents upset. Drag queen story hour. No. It's just demons coming in and just full KISS demon regalia. Hello, kids. I'm Gene Simmons.
Snyder, he might be kind of a cross.
I love him. Back his what do you call his testimony or whatever before that Gore committee where they're all trying to Two Live Crew, First Amendment and all that, and Dee Snyder went in there and told him what's up and how do you call yourself a Christian when you cuss, and he's like, dude, you don't even know. You can't see my heart, man. And I'm just like, I like that guy. He's cool. I like it. He doesn't take any shit. And he's very intellectual too. Like that's another thing. Dispel the myth. Rock and rollers are not stupid dummies. I mean, a lot of them have actually stopped partying, etc. I heard look at Mick Jagger. I mean, he has an entire trailer of just workout equipment that he takes with him everywhere. How amazing the shape that guy's in at that age, right? Like, so, I mean, but notwithstanding that physicality that a lot of these folks are taking ice baths instead of getting wasted and doing shots. People have different lifestyles now, but they're not dummies either. A lot of high IQs in the rock and roll world, right? Now, more so than we might think of from the stereotypes. Dispel the myth.
Yeah. Actually, Paul Stanley is a very, very good painter. Not sure if you knew that or not, but yeah, some of like oil paintings.
I've seen some of them. He was like on 60 Minutes or something like that, or one of those Sunday morning, shows. Charles Kuralt used to be on it back in the day, and they show Paul Stanley sitting up on his little futon and his, shorts with his socks and everything, just chilling, all cross-legged, just kind of just chilling, and just super, super free spirit kind of guy and an artist. And I will tell you, he does like to do the whole, here's what I'm having for dinner posts and shit like that on Facebook. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, I'm walking my dog now. Oh, now I'm at the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, all right, enough. I love you, Paul, but I don't need to see you eat Cheerios, man. Like, the people that Facebook their whole life. And we all go on that, right? Or we share too much sometimes. So we're all guilty of that at some point. But I laughed at that one time. I had Paul and I was like, all right, cool. I'll follow Paul. I like seeing some cool stuff here or there. But then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I have your entire food menu for the entire week. Awesome. I know what you're eating for snacks, where you're going. And I know when you're not home so that we can rob you. I mean, that's why we don't put stuff on Facebook. My wife and I, like, if we take pictures when we're out of town, we'll like post it when we get back, because we don't want people to come and like rob us knowing we're not there, you know. Anyway, I digress. Yep. Like they're not dummies though. And so he's a painter and but there's they're businessmen and women, and just so some of the other inside trips, Rick Springfield, personal escort to bring Kiss wherever they needed to go, Rock and Roll Academy, Dee Snyder, Stephen Pearcy of Ratt, Round and Round, and Tommy from Cinderella. I mean, so many cool stories, man. Batteries for Rick Springfield, 30 minutes late for the event because you got to get batteries at Radio Shack. Pulling back the curtain with Kent Quaschnick. Right now, rock stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fan's perspective. And this fan, Kent Quaschnick, this is killer. Thank you so much for being here today. So continue some of the other one-on-ones that you've had with some of these people. I mean, definitely cool experiences, great stories. Continue.
Yeah, I guess I got maybe one more. I attended we were a major sponsor for the NHL team for the Golden Knights here in Las Vegas. And with our sponsorship, we always got a VIP suite that we could use for every home game. And sadly, not a whole lot of people ever really attended. I don't know if we had less hockey fans in our company, but it was kind of always open. And one of the nights I ended up taking a ticket, and it was myself and a couple other employees, and then Eric Singer and another drummer from another band. I can't remember who the band was, so it's kind of a less popular band. But it was just the five of us in the VIP booth, just enjoying the Golden Knights hockey game. And the owner said, he's like, yeah, just go have fun, put whatever you eat and drink on the company card and just expense it out, just have a time, and Singer, going back to the alcohol and drugs, he doesn't drink at all. So he was just kind of hanging out there, just kind of chit-chatting like a normal human being. I think he might have had a water. But his friend, this other drummer guy, like he was there, he was pounding. Like he was the whole game just going nuts. And towards the end of the game, my two employees, they left a little bit early, and it was just us three there, and pretty soon Eric and this other guy left. And then the waitress comes, and she hands me the bill, which everybody kind of, the other two employees, they cashed out. Everyone was kind of going Dutch, as the saying goes, and paying their own way. But once they left, they paid their bill and left. And then Eric and the other, his drummer friend, they just got up and left. So I got stuck with their bill. So I think one night at the game, it was like in between $600 and $700. I had the expense of food and alcohol into the company.
Ooh, and most of that was not food.
Yeah, well, Eric doesn't drink at all. And,
right, so it was one person, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I had chicken strips and maybe one or two beers, So when I turned that in, of course, I got a snarky email from our finance department saying, well, our daily budget, Kent, is only $40, and you excessively, went over. So I had to run around and get the owner involved to say, hey, whoever this drummer guy that Singer brought, he's the one who ruined everything for me. And he's like, yeah, you just laughed. He's like, no worries. But yeah, super cool.
Kent,
kind of.
You've taken us like a captain on a voyage, like in a time machine, man. Like music isn't what it used to be. The musicians you're talking about, and the real rock stories and these cherished memories that you're sharing with us here at Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and hit the reminder bell. Great episode here today with you, Kent. Thank you. The chance to connect. ourselves back in time with these stories and these memories, and we'll cherish them forever as well here at Rock Stories with the Brummster. But amazing to be able to get back in time, because music isn't the same, and these musicians are not going to be here. They're dropping like flies, man. They're all getting older, and I mean, some of them are like not Mick Jagger withstanding, right? And Keith Richards somehow, but amazing. We hope they all stay in shape, keep touring, keep living, keep rocking. Amen. That said, we're losing some of them. They're getting older. It's just a matter of time. Age gets us all. And with that, it's now relegated to, you know, going on Apple iTunes or YouTube or whatever, or downloading a song or hearing it on a commercial because it's, you know, their brand's using it or something. But, you know, or it's relegated to a niche now, and the tours aren't happening when they're not here anymore. So these stories, you know, bring us back. I mean, rock is not the same as it used to be, right? I mean, or am I like a grandpa going, I remember when you bought a bag of candy for a nickel, it was amazing. Like the past is always greener grass, and the, you know, versus now. I mean, was it better then now, or what's your opinion, or am I off on that?
You know, I still think it was better then. I mean, you know, if you look at it today, like, I don't know that I could name one band, a rock band, you know, that could sell out a show like Kiss did back in the day. You know, like who would be a new band these days that would sell out, you know, Madison Square Garden?
No, you're right. I can't think of any, and none with the show like that. That was really when a show was a show. I mean, you felt the flames in the last row singeing your eyebrows. In the last row, you felt the flames when they came out.
Absolutely.
You felt that show. It hit every sense. As a matter of fact, even though I think Aerosmith is the senior band as far as just being, you know, who's, you know, Aerosmith, the Beatles, you know, on that level, you know, Madonna, like, you know, iconic, and Kiss is as well, but they recognize their place. Aerosmith is number one. But when they toured together, I was at the Save Mart Center, and Kiss opened for Aerosmith, probably because of that. I don't think they flipped a coin. I think they just opened the whole tour for Aerosmith. They knew their place, and they both rocked. But you know what I'm saying? They knew who the alpha was in that. But it was a bad decision, because you basically rock the whole audience. You titilize all of our senses with fire and flames and rock and roll and demons, and my God, at the end of Kiss, you're just like, the lights come on for intermission before Aerosmith comes out, and you're just like dazed and dopamine flushed through your whole body, and there's really no more to experience. And then Aerosmith comes out, and everyone sits down and kind of nods their head and just kind of rocks out. Nobody's standing up going crazy like you would think. And I saw Aerosmith at another concert when Sammy opened for him, and Sammy just went through his hits, got on, got off, and didn't do anything to mess that up, and Aerosmith came out and rocked. So I saw Aerosmith without having our senses titillated, like with all of the fire and flames with Kiss. It just basically ruined it. You cannot let Kiss open for you. You're going to seem like you suck when you don't, but you're going to seem that way because all your senses have been robbed from the opener, because that's the show that you're going to get with Kiss. You never let Kiss open for you. It is my suggestion to anybody who tours with them, right?
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Fire and flames, is it real fire? I mean, yeah, it is. You feel it, right?
Oh,
I mean, did you see You're Behind There? I never got to go backstage with Kiss. I just did the phone interview with Gene, and I saw him. Just went to the concert, but you know, you were backstage. Are the pyrotechnics like all prevalent there? And like, is it pretty cool? What is that like?
Yeah, it's definitely blinding. The thing that always kind of amazed me is you don't see it from the crowd, but you see it, you know, either backstage or, you know, when you're close, like you see all the tape that they have on stage of like their choreographed routine. So it always amazed me of like watching them like follow the tape, their routine in each different song, and they're in the right spot when the explosions happen, you know. And I always think like, man, like not only are you got to remember the words, the song, you know, where to move, because if you get one wrong, you're going to get a rocket to the back of your head or something, you know. It's just kind of a lot of stuff happens that you don't think happen when you're watching it, you know, in the crowd.
Did they ever have a mishap where they got burned by the fire, kind of like Michael Jackson style? Did you know, in the Pepsi commercial? Did anything like that ever happen that you're aware of with Kiss?
I thought I read articles on it where something did happen. Definitely not when I was there. But I could have sworn maybe it wasn't Kiss, but I've definitely read articles where stuff went wrong. And
was it Warrant or no? Great White. Great White was the one who had, and it was a little tiny show like inside of a auditorium or like a hotel, a little hotel room kind of little intimate thing, and they decided to bring like, you know, pyrotechnics into the hotel, and like I think it totally burned them up. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's been great talking to you. Wow. I just saw the time, and I can't believe that it's been almost an hour. That's how your stories have just guided us along in the ship of rock and roll. You've been our captain with the real rock stories from this fan's perspective. You're amazing. I love getting to hear stories like this. Awesome. How authentic too. The real deal. Firsthand experiences. Kiss. Like I said, Tommy from Cinderella, Dee Snyder, Rick Springfield stopping off, getting some batteries at Radio Shack. Vince Neil being so high that flipping out, I didn't get a bag. Where's my bag, man? 5 minutes later, we got your bag handled. What bag? Who are you? Yeah. And then, you get a whole different Tommy from Kiss, sees you 6 months later. Hey, how's the kids? Working on any projects? That kind of personal connection that you had. I mean, seeing them so often, and especially the cool thing that you guys did for kids and helping them with the Rock and Roll Academy. That was just what a great set of memories that you shared with us today, Kent Quaschnick, rock and roll. Just captain of our rock and roll ship today, going back in time, sailing back in time, rock stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fans' perspective. Thank you very much, Kent. But before we go, though, you mentioned to me recently that, and I listened to a couple of their songs, Crashing Wayward. Your good friend is the drummer there. Shout out to Crashing Wayward. Check them out on YouTube. They've got some new songs, some recent songs that you'll love. Check it out. But Crashing Wayward, your friends there, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so he was actually also worked for the same company, so he was involved in basically every experience that I kind of shared today. He was right there with me. And he was always, playing in some band somewhere. He's an excellent drummer. And then he got picked up with Crashing Wayward, just a small local band here. And usually I know a lot of people that are doing the side bands, and I kind of always think to myself, like, don't quit your day job, But when I heard Crashing Wayward, I was like, wow, these guys are legit good. Like, I could see them going somewhere. And then over the course of the last couple of years, they've really kind of blown up. They signed with Ron Keel's record label. If you remember Keel back in the day, they've been going nationwide. They've opened for Filter already. I think they opened for Edema. So they're getting on the map. So yeah, I highly recommend checking them out. They just have such a unique sound, and every new tune that they come out with, I'm like, that's pretty good too. And the music videos, they do professional music videos too, like back in the day, which you just don't really see that anymore.
Like on MTV when they actually played music videos?
Yeah, exactly.
Crashing Wayward.
Yep, it's always nice to see the video. It's like, oh, there's Sean. Show more Sean.
Show more Sean. Crashing Wayward. Check him out. I highly recommend you rock out with some Crashing Wayward, and phenomenal band and amazing drummer and amazing label as well. And so exciting. We just talked about this, right? Is music better now than it used to be, or is it better then than it is now, right? We had that discussion today on our Rock Stories with the Brummster podcast. And right, and now here we are. There is an example. There's hope. There's hope. There's an example of new music coming out that's fresh and new, but kicks ass, and we don't have to look back and go, God, it's just not as good as it used to be. There is some good music coming out. Crashing Wayward, check them out at their YouTube channel. So, brother Kent Quaschnick, Kent, thank you very much for being on Rock Stories with the Brummster. Appreciate you sharing your memories with us today, man. And thanks for being a friend of the Brummster and a friend of the program, and appreciate you being on, brother.
You got it, man. It was a pleasure. It was fun.
Awesome. Hang on the line for us, and I'll be right back. Hang on for our engineer. Rock Stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fans' perspective. Kent Quaschnick with us today. Hey, do you have some authentic fans' perspective, your perspective, rock stories, memories, favorite band memories, music memories, concert memories, meeting your star memories, all that kind of stuff? Do you have, from your own fans, your own personal fans' perspective, do you have your own rock and roll stories you'd like to share on Rock Stories with the Brummster here at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel? Like, subscribe, hit that reminder bell so you get new episodes like today with Kent Quaschnick as we went back in time. It's a time machine. We want to hear your time machine as well. So comment down below here at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Comment there, and we'd love to get you on the show if you've got some real cool memories you'd like to share as well. Real rock stories from the fans' perspective here at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel, also highlighted at rockradio559.com, my friend Brian's rock station, and every single Friday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock after Hopper in the morning, my mentor, who does an oldies show. And then after that, from 5 to 6 p.m. before finally a Friday, I have a show on rockradio559.com. You can get the app. I have a show called Hard Drive at 5 with the Brummster, where I DJ a full hour of rock and roll. And you can, of course, check that out and hear radio the way that it used to be, how it should be. Rock stories from the fans' perspective, always right here at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Again, thank you, Kent Quaschnick, for rocking our day today. You totally are awesome. Thank you for sharing all of these amazing memories. Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Rock on. Y'all have a great weekend, and we'll be back soon with another episode.